All right, part 2 of the college football breakdown, episode number 2, Big Ten edition. And we are going to break down the best of the West. And then we're going to get into some picks at the very end. So please stick with us while you can. And let's go with...
I just lost the rock, paper, scissors tournament to guns, by the way.
Yes, you did. So let's go. Let's look at the Wisconsin Badgers, Madison, Wisconsin.
Okay. So
Camp Randall, what do you think?
I think Wisconsin is poised for a good season. I think this is finally Graham Mertz's year. Had a really good freshman year, or half of a freshman year, I guess.
Yes, half of a freshman.
Heisman candidate.
Correct.
Last year he sucked, and he's a junior. He's a junior. Great running back. Always Wisconsin, what you should know is that they always have running back. They will always play defense. So if they get any sort of quarterback play, they're going to be good. It's their side of the bracket to lose. Would you say? Would you say that? Would you agree with me on that?
Yeah, I think you're on the same track as I am. Strength of the team really is Braylon Edwards. I'm sorry, not Braylon Edwards. Braylon Allen. So you saw this kid last year, 17-year-old kid. He didn't play until the back half of the season when that team was fucking struggling. When he came in, it was a new team. And granted, the schedule got weaker at the back end of the season, but this kid is an absolute talent. This is going to be the next best star that Wisconsin ever had, especially if he stays all the way through his junior year. May break records. What he did last year was absolutely incredible after not even playing half the season. He put up 1,268 yards rushing on the ground, 6.8 yards per carry. This kid is electric, and it is going to be the main staple of that offense and maybe take the pressure off of Graham Mertz to go and perform. Offensive line is going to be ranked number 4 in the country in preseason polls that I've seen. Yeah. So I think the line's not going to have a drop off. And Wisconsin lines, doesn't matter if they lose starters or not, that line never drops. It's always big farm boys that eat nothing but corn, meat, and potatoes. So they're just going to be ready to go on that end. And then you have a running back that's probably the best athlete I've ever seen out of Wisconsin since I can't think of the kid's name now.
Monte Ball.
Nope.
Or Melvin Gordon.
Melvin Gordon. That's what I was thinking.
There you go. So Wisconsin, as you said, they're going to be really good. Their biggest strength is their schedule. They have a pretty easy schedule. Illinois State at home, at Washington State, New Mexico State at home, at Ohio State. So their toughest games are at Ohio State and at Michigan State. Other than that, they should be better than everybody else they play. Yeah,
I agree.
And I think they're better than Michigan State too. So at Iowa, Iowa's always the wild card to me. I never know how to treat Iowa. It always depends on what happens the week before to me with Iowa. So it's hard to project. Welcome to the Big West. Yes, that's so true. As a Purdue fan, I understand where he comes from on that. I'm rooting for Purdue over Wisconsin. All right, Boiler. But I mean, they're a 10-win team.
Yeah.
And they're going to get their asses kicked by Ohio State in the Big Ten championship.
Yeah, we'll see how that pans out. But let's talk about the defensive experience. And I thought this was a big-time strength for this team last year. And you actually look at the production that defense did. They kept them in games, even though Graham Mertz was just making mistake after mistake after mistake at quarterback. So you need Mertz to live up to that 5-star potential. And then you need the defense to actually grow as the season goes. So the offense is going to carry a lot of the weight more than the defense does this year, in my opinion.
Which
the replacements are kind of unknown too.
Mertz being good. With Mertz being good, I think that helps. They have a great running game.
Yeah. They brought in a lot of transfers too.
I'm kind of excited to watch them, aren't you?
Oh, yeah. I'm always excited to watch Wisconsin every year because you never know what team, what eventually you're going to get value in this team in a lot of spots. And I want to see this team kind of gel as a union consistently, which we haven't seen in a while. And I think this is a potential Rose Bowl team going into if we're talking just bowl games in general. I think if anybody's going to represent the Big Ten in the Rose Bowl, it's this one. If and I haven't looked to see if the Rose Bowl is college football playoff potential this year, which it might be because that wasn't last year.
I think the championship is the Rose Bowl.
Oh, okay. So it's not going to happen this year for them. But no, I think it's going to be a good season regardless. Game to watch. What do you think?
That'd be that Ohio State game.
Mm-hmm.
At Ohio State. September.
It's at Ohio State. Oh, I wish it was at Camp Randall.
State.
I saw that too. Yep.
I know. That to me is their game to watch. Because I think they're legitimately better than everybody else on their schedule, but Ohio State.
Yeah. It's a tough out for them. I looked at Minnesota actually end of the year. Now, if you remember, and this is a highly motivated circle game for them.
It's at the Paul.
Wisconsin was supposed to be in the Big Ten championship. Let's make that clear. They were the team to be in the Big Ten championship, not Iowa. Iowa was limping into the back end of their season, and Wisconsin was heating up, and they fell asleep at the wheel against Minnesota, and now they get them at Camp Randall. This is going to be what I consider the biggest bloodbath of their season, and absolutely beating from Wisconsin. They lost by 10 on the road as 7-point favorites, so keep that in mind. They were a 7-point road favorite. So look at the line going into that game. If it's not 2 scores, as it should be, Wisconsin should roll.
And
Minnesota.
Just to bring
we'll
it
get
back,
to Minnesota too.
And just to bring it back, the national championship is out west.
Okay.
So it is at the Rose Bowl, and then the Fiesta Bowl, Peach Bowl are the other 2 locations for the playoff.
Pasadena, California. Oh, Nelly.
Whoa,
All right.
Nelly.
All right. Next team on the boat is let's wave at the kids that have cancer. Iowa. Hawkeyes.
I thought you might Purdue second. You got Iowa ahead of Purdue in your little inaugural.
No, I don't have them in any particular order. I just kind of went down how I wrote them up.
So the national championship is at SoFi Stadium, by the way.
Interesting. All right, so Iowa. What do you think?
Iowa, I don't know. Iowa is going to lose some games.
Of course they are.
But the problem with Iowa is they're going to lose some games they shouldn't, and going to win some games they shouldn't. So, I mean, what does Iowa do every year? 8-4.
Underperform offensively.
They're 8-4 every season.
Is absolutely great. They're every bit of the template of a Big Ten team.
Yeah, they're the Big Ten in 1984.
Yeah,
and they are. I mean, the Iowa game is always going to be fun. That'll be my game to watch. If you're gonna press me on a game to watch for Iowa, it's going to be that one for me as a Big 12 fan.
What game?
Iowa State, Iowa. The old,
that's always that's a rivalry game. So
yeah, that's my game to watch for Iowa every year, because other than that, I don't watch a lot of Iowa football. I really don't. I don't.
Well,
see
if you like unders, you watch Iowa football.
Well, I mean, under 12. I mean, what's the under? Under 23. I mean, you can't make the fucking line low.
36 to 40, but yeah, let's be fair. Here's what I think about.
Let's just run big boy football in an era where big boy football doesn't win.
Yeah, this is farm boy football. You're in Iowa. It's farm boy football.
Hey, what's the point? Nebraska, why are you lacing them up? What's the point?
Yeah, let's talk about the Big Ten. I know we're not talking about your Big 12, but we're going to talk some Big Ten, and we're talking Smash Mouth football. Classic shit. All right, so 14 starters coming back, 7 on offense, 7 on defense, including their top 2 tacklers. and the most electric football player in the first 4 weeks until he got hurt. Riley Moss is coming back.
Yeah,
Let's not forget about them.
That's
So
a good point.
So when we talk about Iowa, we need to talk about, is Riley Moss playing or is he not playing? And he is playing. And that kid is the heartbeat of that defense.
I'll give you that.
And I think it's going to be the primary success point when looking at every Iowa game is, can that defense basically just dominate completely? Because when you look at the weakness that I'm about to talk about, it's that stupid offense that Iowa brings to the table.
That's the problem.
It's Iowa. You could just replay this every year for Iowa.
Well, you just gave me shit about making the same point.
No, I did.
It's Iowa.
But it is it's like, so you tell a college football fan, you just say it's Iowa. They should just do this because you know what's going to happen. And everything that I'm talking about is going to be, I'm going to talk about this from 2022, 2023, and so on until I am dead, because Iowa never, ever has an offense. And last year they had a running back. That guy's gone.
It's got to be frustrating to be a fan of that team. It just has to be.
Yeah, so the offense is going to have to pick up the slack. That was my note. It's like, because the defense
I will say they had some good offensive games last year.
Against who?
Never mind, they didn't.
They didn't. No, you look at the scores. They are an under team.
Well, they blew out Maryland 51-14. I think I had the under in that game. The one game, Iowa game, I bet. Mm-hmm. Purdue crushed them.
All right, let's
I shouldn't be as high on Iowa as I am.
In essence, let's do Cliff Notes version of Iowa. Defense is going to be excellent, and their offense is a work in progress.
I have them third. I have them third in the West.
Okay, you got them higher than I do. We'll get to that in a second. So, game to watch. I think you already said yours.
Yeah.
Mine's Purdue.
Okay.
On the 5th of November. Remember the 5th of November. Let's put on the mask. Let's get the conspiracy theories out. Guy Fawkes Day. Iowa lost to them 24-7 at home when they were undefeated. But like I said, I think this kind of like fell into one of those spots where they had a big win and they had a letdown spot. And Purdue was just kind of primed and ready. This was a good year for Purdue. And I don't think they're going to replicate that, but we'll get to that in a second. The away team, if you want to look at trends, is 11-1 against the spread in this spot. Iowa's the away team. So,
okay.
And also, if you want to know the line from last year, Iowa went into the game as an 11-point favorite to Purdue. So keep that in mind when looking at that number. Is like, what was it last year versus what it is now?
Your boy Boiler's not going to like that one very much.
Zero drop off on the Iowa side. Defensively, offensively, huge drop off. But we'll get to Purdue in a second. I'll break them down. But I think this is kind of one of those spots. Iowa comes back and, sorry, a Boilermaker.
Okay, that's a good stat. That's a good stat. Yeah. That's a good stat. So you like Iowa. Purdue, you want to go Purdue next?
I love him. Look, we put the comments up. That's what we do. As long as they're not going to get me kicked off YouTube, I'll put them up. All right. Minnesota is the next one.
Minnesota next?
Yes. I don't know why. This is just how I wrote them in order. And
hey, whatever you want to do. Whatever you want to do.
And by the way, when I bring up a team, it has no bearing on the rating that I have at the end of the program. But let's talk Minnesota Gophers.
Minnesota.
PJ Fleck, row the boat.
So I'm conflicted on Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of like what they're doing up there. I like the coach. I like his shtick.
Who doesn't?
I like their stadium. I like their colors.
You sound like a chick right now.
Do I look like one too?
Sometimes. Depends on the filter.
But I do not like their football team.
Okay.
And I don't. Other than
What don't
Illinois
you like about
North,
it?
other than Illinois Northwestern, I just don't know who they're going to beat on that side of the deal. So the East teams they play are Michigan State, loss, Penn State, loss, Rutgers, win, and that's it, right? That's it.
So how many wins? 4 and what?
4 and 7.
Okay.
I think a lot of the problem is I think a lot of people are high on Rutgers. I need somebody to sell me on Rutgers on Minnesota. I need somebody to sell me on Minnesota. I've bought into Minnesota before and gotten crushed.
Okay.
And this is partly me being cautious with Minnesota. What do you think?
Well, you know who's not going to sell you on Minnesota? It's me. I'm not going to sell you on it.
Okay,
and
so
I'll
you're
tell
not
you
that
why.
guy. I'll have to wait for somebody else.
I actually forgot that Minnesota had a 9-4 season last year.
Mm-hmm. Well, they started out great.
And you actually look at the score outcomes of those games.
I was kind of surprised they were in a lot of games as well,
especially after losing Ibrahim early in the Ohio State game, which they were actually competing week 1, which plays back to Notre Dame game that Ohio State isn't ready early. Key players on the offensive side, that is going to be the strength for this team. So you have Tanner Morgan coming back. And I think losing Muhammad Ibrahim last year really hurt that team a lot.
Yeah, that was a big hurt.
The production you saw in that Ohio State game was incredible, and that kind of predicated.
I think that's where they dropped off.
But they had 9 wins with PJ Fleck. How'd they get 9 wins? And they beat Wisconsin at the end of the season, which is incredible. But
so listen to this. They had 9 wins, and they lost. And they lost to Miami of Ohio.
That's right.
Yes. I mean, Bowling Green.
Yeah, they had. Well, that was part of the Ibrahim transition period. So let's get away from that. So when you look at Minnesota, and maybe I'm playing in a little bit more into the Minnesota argument a little bit. So they have a weak ass schedule this year. 64th toughest schedule in the country. Their 3 toughest road games are going to be Michigan State, Penn State, and Wisconsin. Right. I would say those are probably going to be losses, in my opinion.
I think they lose at Nebraska too. But
yeah, and this team finished 9-4 last year, and it may have, predicated from their schedule.
They're probably they're probably an 8-4 team, right?
Yeah, but let's talk about the front 7 of Minnesota, which was a very pivotal strength of that team last year that carried them to a 9-4 season. Guess what? All gone. Diminished. Lacking experience in that position. They're going to have to start redshirt freshmen, sophomores throughout in those positions. Now, a team that actually went to go look at how they stopped the run last year, they only gave up 98 yards rushing per game, which is great for the Big Ten. 3.4 yards per carry last year. Off of that front 7. But they got a lot of experience coming back on the DB end. But now you have this inexperience on the front 7, so you're going to have to rely on the secondary to go make the tackles. That means that you have guys going past that second level, 5, 6, 7 yards a carry. You might be 2021 Missouri if you don't have a front 7. So I think this Minnesota team is going to have to score a lot of points to even stay.
At least they play in the Big Ten where nobody throws deep, so be all right.
Well, I mean, but that's what I mean.
I'm joking. I'm joking.
But that's what I mean. If you're a run heavy team, which is everybody in the Big Ten, that's a problem if you can't stop the run.
If you can't stop the run in the Big Ten, you're fucked.
Yeah. So that is a very weak point for Minnesota, and I think that is going to play into a regression as far as wins go. If you can't stop the run, you're fucked. Game to watch. What do you think?
Man, I think the Nebraska game. I think for me, the Minnesota and Nebraska, because I think those teams are about even. I think they're about even. And to me, that's going to be a game to watch. Whoever wins that game, that kind of determines which one of those teams goes to a bowl game or not.
Yeah.
So for me, I think that's a good game to watch and bet in early November.
Okay. My game to watch is going to be Iowa on the 19th of November. Lost to Iowa on the road, 27-22 as 4-point dogs. And if you actually remember that game, and I think maybe I remember because I probably was on Minnesota, and I always remember like bad losses. They had a last minute field goal, which was unnecessary for Iowa because they would have had the game anyways, and they hit the field goal and put them up 5 with 41 seconds left, and they were 4-point dogs. Bad beat Central, party of one.
Oh yeah,
thy name is Guns. That's the game I'm looking at as a revenge spot is Iowa, and I'm predicating that on a bad Iowa offense. I can't put up points. So give me Minnesota in that game on November 19th. But the line was 4. Next? So Nebraska, the Cornhuskers. Scott Frost back against the wall. Is he going to fucking survive and jump at your throat like a rat? Or is he going to cower in his position and claim his death as the head coach of the Cornhuskers?
I think Nebraska is a team to watch. I think they're a dark horse in the East.
I think we're in alignment here. Did we just become best friends? Okay.
Best friends. Okay. No, Nebraska, dude. I wanted to pick them higher, but I just couldn't do it. I don't know about their quarterback. I don't know about their quarterback.
Okay.
I don't know, man. Nebraska versus OU. I'm just looking. That's my game to watch. Big 8 battle. Those teams were so good for so long. So many rivalry games. That was the rival. You do not realize being from Oklahoma that Nebraska OU for a long time was bigger than than OU Texas.
Yeah.
It really was. It was a bigger deal here for years in comparison to the Red River rivalry. So I'm excited that OU is going to Nebraska to play that. I know they played last year. Nebraska almost beat them in Norman. If Nebraska beats OU, bet Indiana the week after the
But, obviously.
But I don't know, man. What's Nebraska's upside to you? I don't know what to call their upside because they have a tough draw. But I mean, probably 9-3 is like their ceiling.
That's impressive. Compared to 3 they were 3-9 last year.
Oh, I know. But I think they're coming into their own.
Yeah.
So
that you are hitting the nail on the head, and I want to break this down a little bit further and
more about them than me.
You're definitely on the right pace. And I brought up Kevin's comment is, I'll bring it up again. The frost warning is getting thawed, and you always see Nebraska in the same spot. And I treat them like Tennessee is. They look so good on paper.
Or Texas.
And they lean everything from a capper standpoint to be a better team. And what they do is they underperform. I think this team is a little bit different because of what I saw their performance last year. Now, let me get into that for a second. So the quarterback was the problem. Adrian Martinez did not work and gel with the Scott Frost program. Now, Scott Frost
he's at Kansas State now, right?
No, he's at Kansas State. Yes. Martinez is the quarterback for there. And I think that's going to be a better spot for him, but we'll get in the Big 12 later in one of the other episodes. So looking at you don't have to deal with Martinez, which didn't fit the Scott Frost mentality on offense. Now, if you ever watched him at UCF, they want to like get to the line, they want to hurry up, and they want to pass the ball and kind of work in the run as they go, and they just want to gas out defenses. They couldn't do that with Martinez. So he had to adjust as a head coach, which is tough for him because he likes the fast-paced offense. He's got a quarterback now that can actually run that. Casey Thompson is coming from Texas. You check his stats. He started 10 games for Texas, and I think he started one and he beat Notre Dame on like week 1 a couple of years ago. But it was 63% completion. I may be wrong on that one, but 63% completion rate, 23 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, and they bring back 7 players on the offensive side. This is a team that I don't know. I want to be like, okay, you can't say that Nebraska is going to be good, but on paper, I've seen this fits into that mold of a team that's going to be better than what people anticipate. And I think people are going to be down on Nebraska. This is a strength for this team, adding Casey Thompson. This is the missing link, I think, from a puzzle perspective. And I think they're really going to be a tough competitor in that side of the division. And
he's the best quarterback. He's the best quarterback they've had in a long time.
He may be the best quarterback on that side of the bracket too, as far as the conference is concerned.
We'll see.
And Aiden O'Connell's in there too for Purdue. But so their strength, they lost 9 games last. I want to talk about this one too. And I brought this up last time when we talked about teams that lose by a touchdown or less. So I always look at that stat too to see if they can compete with anybody. And this is the best example of that. Nebraska lost 9 games last season. They were 3-9. They lost all of them. Yes, I said that. All of them by a touchdown or less.
Yeah.
All of them. And that was stuff that Adrian Martinez did, the fumble and put them in field goal position for Michigan. It's just stuff that circles in my memory. And now you have Casey Thompson that can actually move the ball. This team's going to be better. And I think, you kind of already hit the nail on the head on this one. The linebacker corps is ranked number 12 in preseason polls that I've seen, and they get their top 2 tacklers back.
The black shirts are back.
So on the offensive side of the ball, they improve. The defensive side of the ball, they improve. The weaknesses, which is a big one, is they're very young and inexperienced in the secondary. Defensive backs, safeties, corners, everything. They're very inexperienced.
College football is better when Nebraska is good, right?
If there's any year that Nebraska is good, if there's any year that I've seen on paper that Nebraska is good since the 90s, this is the team. I've never seen a team built this well.
It's time for Nebraska to figure it out. It's been long enough. It's time for them to figure it out.
Game to watch? What do you think? Oh, you already said the game to watch, right?
OU.
Yeah. I wish I saw that one, but your take on it was perfect. Michigan is the one that I look at, and I just look at that because they lost 32-29, and they lost at a fluke fumble because Adrian Martinez. Every time I hear Adrian, it's just Peterson in the head. So fumble, scoring position, field goal. That's the end of the game. Good night, folks. I think
Nebraska needs to win close games. They win close games. They're going to be competitive.
Scott Frost back against the wall.
I want Scott Frost to be good. I think we all want Scott Frost to be good. He's a football guy.
He's done everything he can. And let's go into the next one.
We got
Purdue.
We haven't done Purdue yet?
Yeah, we're doing Purdue now.
God.
And then we're getting into the bottom.
All right, Purdue.
All right.
I wanted to pick Purdue to win the West so badly.
Well, we're not in 2021, so.
But I did not. I think Purdue is going to be really, really, really good. I think they're going to lose. I have them losing to Maryland and Wisconsin. I know. Boiler's gonna hate that I have them losing to Maryland, but I think they're gonna lose that early game because they have a tough. That's what college football is about, man. Getting your heart fucking ripped out. So Purdue opens up with a tough game at home versus Penn State. It's a must win, in my opinion, for them if they want to win the West. I have them finishing second in the West. I love the team. I love the fans. I hope Purdue does well. What do you think? What do you think the Boilers are going to do?
This team's gonna regress from last year.
I know. I've heard that. So I've heard that from a couple folks now. I've read about it. I've heard about it. They're regressing. Why are they regressing? Give me the reasons why.
I will say strength in this team is they're bringing back 14 starters. So I think on the defensive side, the defensive side was their problem last year, and their offense was just keeping them in games because you go and toe to toe.
Well, they lost a badass wide receiver, right?
Yes, and I'll get to that in a second. So Purdue brings back 14 starters, including the quarterback Aiden O'Connell, who had like an electric year for the team, good. And he was the telltale starter, best starter probably since Drew Brees. I don't remember any starter better than
Kyle Orton, maybe.
No, I wouldn't even take it that far. I think he plays at a higher level, and he has some mobility to him. They also bring back their top running back, King Doru, but I mean, this is a passing team. This is a team that has to like move the ball down the field, and it is old school. I
like their coach.
Western Kentucky spread offense. It's perfect situation for Aiden O'Connell to go to this team. So going to the receivers. They lose their top 3 receivers from last year, and David Bell, which is the guy that you were thinking of.
Yes, that's
over 1,300 yards pass receiving last year. But they bring in. Oh, I'm sorry. You know what I did is I was thinking of the 2 transfers from Iowa for a different team that I mentioned in the first half. This is the team that picked up the transfers and really filled in the holes. So they have some good receivers from Iowa that transferred over to this team, and I just don't know how good they're going to be, but I can't imagine them not excelling when you have a quarterback with Aiden O'Connell versus whatever fucking podunk quarterback is at Iowa. You know what I mean? So you look at their yak and their yardage that they had when they were with Iowa, it was kind of impressive. Due to the situation. So I think they'll be fine, but I think they're going to take a step back without, having their David Bell in the lineup. Weaknesses on this one, front 7. It's almost like Minnesota 2.0 here. They're going to be weaker. They lost their top 2 tacklers from last year, and they are already a team that struggled stopping the ball. I mean, it doesn't matter if their top 2 tacklers leave. I mean, Purdue just doesn't have a defense. They're just gonna try to. They're very Big 12 oriented, and why they're not in the Big 12? It's just fucking. I'm sorry, they don't. Big 12 doesn't have defenses. They try to outgun you. They score a lot of points.
Not anymore. Not anymore. We'll talk about.
I know that. I know they're transitioning. I got it. Especially with Oklahoma has had some good defenses in the past, and your boys, State. The Cowboys,
and Baylor.
Yes. Okay. So yes, there is a transition there, but I'm thinking of old.
But yes, I mean, I agree with you. I fall into that same trap. You're right. I mean, they do fit that style more. You're right.
So one of the things that I saw from last year and may kind of carry on this year is Purdue struggled last year versus teams with decent defenses that can make stops. And the teams they lost to last year were Minnesota, Wisconsin, Ohio State, and Notre Dame. And all those teams had very good defenses last year. So it basically, to beat Purdue, you make stops. Force the offense off the field.
But their schedule, man. But their schedule, dude. I mean, they don't play those teams this year.
No, they don't.
The thing with Purdue. So
Correct.
That's what makes me
Which is a strength.
Purdue. I mean,
I just think the defense is going to have – go ahead.
You're probably right. Yeah, I mean, you're probably right about their defense. But who's going to score? Who's going to score against them? Maryland, probably.
No, you have to look at I think you look more at. I don't look at who can score against Purdue. I look at who can stop Purdue on off.
Well,
when
I don't know.
Purdue has the
I don't.
ball, can you get who's going to be able to get them 3 and out, or just like maybe 2 drives and they're out.
They got an easy schedule, dude.
Yeah,
they got an easy schedule.
Okay, so game to watch. What do you think?
Man, I've been doing this a lot, but I think it's that first game of the season, Penn State, Purdue. I think if Purdue beats Penn State at home, it sets them up for success big time. Although I think that game at Syracuse isn't as easy as advertised. I think Syracuse is going to be pretty good. I think they're going to be better than they were last year, and that was a tough game last year. But that Penn State at Purdue opening game, which opening your season with a conference game is just weird to me. I don't know why these teams are doing that. But that's my game to watch, Penn State at Purdue, which I think Purdue will win. And I think they're a 9-win team. Their total is 7.5. So I'm obviously probably off my rocker for thinking they're going to win 9 games. But what's your game to watch? Probably Wisconsin.
I just want to have some dead air there. No, we're on the same wavelength there. I had Penn State 9-1. I think that is going to be. And actually, I'm
it's a 7 o'clock. It's a night game. I mean,
you know how many big games are on that day? There's like what?
So excited.
Ohio State, Notre Dame. You have Oregon's playing. Who are they playing?
Hold on, I'll look it up. Playing. Go ahead. Keep going.
And then you have, you have a lot of big games.
Isn't Oregon playing like Georgia or something?
Yes, that's it. That's what I was thinking of.
Yeah.
So you have Oregon, a lot of Georgia. Good non-conference games. You have a lot of good matchups there, but you also have like the Big Ten basically just says, if you're middle of the road or you're a lower tier team, we're going to put you against each other like early on the season, which is, I think, is a good method to have. And then just have the non-conference stuff.
I hate conference games that early as a fan. I know Boiler probably feels the same way. I just hate conference games before your team gets ready. But the Big Ten kind of you got to get hit a couple times.
But I think Penn State will I pick Penn State because I think this is kind of like one of those games that they need to have. Did they play each other last year? I kind of don't want to say they did, and I may be confusing them with Iowa. I think this is kind of like one of those staple games that Penn State always plays well early, and they showed that last year. And I think that kind of like carries over into this season, and they'll kind of like put a staple on this Purdue team, and people will be like way too high on Penn State, which will give value on any team that plays them in the next like 2 or 3 weeks. So I'm kind of hoping that Penn State dominates.
They did not play last year.
Yeah. And I think this is a good spot. I think Penn State kind of dominates this game, just based on the fact that Purdue can't stop anybody. Not a hit on their offense. I think their year was last year, and I don't think it's going to. And by the way, they played a great bowl game. What a great matchup between Tennessee and Purdue.
That was a fun game.
No better offensive
3-point game
juggernaut.
Overtime, I think.
That is just reeks of like they should have set the line for over 100 in that game because it was gonna hit that anyways. All right, let's go to the bottom feeders now.
All right,
let's talk
Illinois Northwestern.
Let's briefly talk about them because it's just a stink hole of teams. Northwestern. I'm always, it's a weird spot for me to not be high on Northwestern because I really like Pat Fitzgerald and what he's doing with that program. He's been there for almost 20 years. Do you know that?
I think no. I mean, I didn't, but I mean, apparently,
you want me to do it?
Doesn't matter.
So 9 starters coming back for Northwestern, including Evan Hall and Ryan Helinski. We'll take it for what it's worth, but at least Evan Hall had over 1,000 yards rushing last year. So it's a full rebuild on the offensive side. Defense, I think they kind of play this role a lot because they are kind of like a hotbed for transfers that go there. I know Notre Dame really picks guys from Northwestern to go there because they have the grades and they're super talented, and Pat Fitzgerald really builds these guys up. 5 starters coming back on the defensive side from last season, 4 returning starters, but they had 4 returning starters from last year, so take that for what it's worth. I think they can't go nowhere but up on that regard. And I think the offense is going to improve too. So I think there's going to be improvement from Northwestern because I've never seen Pat Fitzgerald have 2 down seasons in a row. Game to watch. What do you think?
Quickly, Northwestern has been to 16 bowl games in their existence.
Are they all with Pat Fitzgerald there?
Fitzgerald's taken them to 10, I think.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
Or 11. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10. So that's why he has the job. So, I mean, let's be honest. Northwestern is really, really. I mean, to me, Northwestern Nebraska is it's going to be a great game.
Well, okay. Yeah, I like that.
That's a game I want to watch because I want to see what Northwestern is going to play sound football. That's a game Nebraska needs to win. If they don't win that, they're not back. What do you think?
I'm looking at Purdue on the 19th, only because of trends and what the outcome was last year. Northwestern lost 32-14 last season, and they were 11-point dogs. Down year for the Northwestern team. Road team is 8-1 against the spread in this matchup. So I think it's kind of like Northwestern has nowhere to go but up. They have a good coach, and you have Purdue with Frome, and it's all offense. And if the offense isn't clicking, which may happen this season, the defense is going to make stops. And if I were Northwestern, they're at Purdue, so I would just run the ball and control the clock and let things fall as they
Northwestern has an uphill battle, and we'll move on to Illinois next. But Illinois has a tough schedule. I mean, but like we said earlier, everything
super
is tough. Bad.
Yep.
But, is Illinois ever going to get back? Are they ever going to get good again?
They kissed the or at least teased us from getting to a bowl. I think the running game is going to be strong. They bring back Chase Brown, who rushed over 1,000 yards last year, and that's kind of Illinois' MO. They never had a quarterback. That's kind of the position, but they're bringing in Tommy DeVito, who's a transfer from Syracuse. If you ever watched any Syracuse football, and you probably have to watch them on a Friday or early on a Saturday, he actually put up some decent numbers for Syracuse, so I think it's an improvement on the quarterback side. I just think that this team is just a slew of questions all across the board, and I don't know if I don't think Illinois is going to be good overall. I think they're still going to be the bottom feeder of that conference, but I think if anything, they're going to at least maybe you catch them in the back end of the week. They win all their non-conference games and win maybe 1 or 2 sneaky games against somebody that's sleeping, and they may be able to get into a bowl game by chance. That's kind of like where I see Illinois hitting. I see Northwestern in the same boat. They may get 5 wins, they may get 4 wins, they may get 6 wins. I don't know.
If you catch me, my game to watch for Illinois is none.
I put question mark. I don't know.
If I'm watching an Illinois game,
shoot me in the head.
I'm either you told me to bet on it, or
which I won't.
There's nothing else on.
There's not. I would tell the only time I would have a bet on an Illinois game is if they're playing a non-conference game like they were last year with UTSA, and I would just hammer UTSA.
I take that back. One of my good friends at the club who I met is he played safety at Illinois, so I got to give him a shout out.
What's he doing
maybe
now?
He's sales. He's
I know.
he's not playing football. He's not playing football anymore. But maybe I guess inside Illinois tracks for us this past season. But
It's perfect.
Man, Illinois is gonna be a tough team to watch. All right, dude. So
let's rank them. Let's start with these.
Let's rank them.
Do we ever find out which is Legends and which was the other one?
No, I think they're both shit.
All right. Legends, while you look that up, I can do mine.
All right, you do your East.
Okay, so
let's start with the Big Ten East. So number 1, I have Ohio State. Ohio State with a chip on their shoulder and really no regression with that team because their offense is going to kind of maintain the production that they did last year, and their defense is going to improve with bringing back so many starters. So I think Ohio State kind of comes out number 1. Number 2, I have Penn State. I'm really high on Penn State because of Sean Clifford. It's all predicated on if Sean Clifford can pull a complete season together. Other than that, that team is in trouble without him. And I think the defense will kind of evolve as they get into Big Ten play. And they also catch people in spots where last year they had to play them on the road. They're going to play them at home this year. So Michigan, I got at number 3. I think the offense is going to be the carrier of that team. And the defense is going to be the one that's kind of grow across the season. So I have them at number 3. Michigan State, I have at 4. Maryland 5. Indiana 6. Indiana is kind of that wild card. I just don't know what the quarterback situation is going to bring to that team, and you may see a different outcome, maybe even above Michigan State. So like 4 through 7, I think 4 through 6 is kind of interchangeable. Maryland at 5, and I said Maryland at 5, Indiana at 6, and Rutgers at 7. Yep.
I have the same as you, except I have Penn State at 3 and Michigan at 2, Penn State at 3. I have them tied, but the tiebreaker going to Michigan.
Yep.
So we're simpatico in that. As far as the West goes, I think we're not going to be quite as kosher.
No, we're going to be all over the place. So what's it? What's Legends and what's?
So I mean, that all went to hell after they added those teams. That's the problem. Those division names went to hell.
All right, so we're going to call it East and West for this podcast.
It's East and West. All right. So we got Wisconsin. I have Wisconsin first.
Okay.
Purdue second.
Okay.
I know you don't agree with that. Iowa third. Nebraska 4th. Minnesota 5th. Illinois 6th. Northwestern 7th. Schedule to me sets up too well for Wisconsin not to win that side of the division. And then I don't know, man. The fan in me wants Purdue. Yeah. But I know Purdue could finish much farther down than second. But man, I don't know. I don't trust Iowa or Nebraska.
I don't trust anybody in this side of the bracket. It can go any direction. I have Wisconsin at 1. I think Graham Mertz has to have a put up or shut up season.
Yeah.
And I think with having Allen back there in the backfield kind of takes the pressure off of him.
Yeah.
And I think the defense is the weak point, but I think they're going to be fine as they grow across the season.
Yeah,
and it's going to be all predicated on what Graham Mertz does. Don't turn over the ball and just run the offense and be disciplined.
If he can be Russell Wilson, they have a chance. Really
I like Wisconsin to be 1.
Yeah.
Nebraska is 2. They may be a 1. If I mean Scott, it goes back to is Scott Frost a good coach, or is he just a flash in the pan and just belongs in the G5 circle? So I don't know.
This is his season to put up or shut up.
It's his season, and he's completely equipped to dominate that conference, the best of his ability. And I have Minnesota at 3, and I'm questioning that a little bit based on the front 7 being gone. Iowa at 4, and that's interchangeable with Minnesota. I could consider them 3A, 3B. Purdue at 5. I think Purdue has a significant drop off. I had to pick a team that had a drop off, and the only reason I did that because the offense is The offense is receiver-wise was their
You're going to
strength
catch some
last year.
heat for that.
And that's
You're gonna
fine.
catch some
I'm
heat
being
for
a
it.
realist, and you can talk shit about Notre Dame. It's fine. I know where Notre Dame stands. But they still have Aiden O'Connell, and I just don't know if he has the dynamic and the the rhythm that he had with the wide receivers that were there before. Listen, he's losing a lot of his core. And then you have to go to the run game, which they didn't run the ball a lot. So I need a strong Purdue offense to move them up the board, and I don't see it. And their defense is just all right. Here we go. He's back. Up yours. Yeah, fair. It's fair. It's fair. We'll see at the end of the season if I'm right or wrong. Okay, I have him at 5. Northwestern at 6, and I think Northwestern. I every time
Illinois
I see
7.
Pat Fitzgerald, he has like one bad year, and then he has a surprise year. I think it's like 7 or 8 wins or something like that. I don't want to see it, but
I'll get these rankings. I'll get these rankings out,
and then Illinois at 7.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'll get these rankings out.
Who's going to win the Big Ten?
All right. So
Purdue, right? It's Purdue.
We have Ohio State, Wisconsin, right, in the finals. That's what you have as well.
Yes. Yep.
And Ohio State winning. So I think the winning team from the SEC, the last show we did, and then the Big Ten is pretty easy. I think after today's show,
it's gonna be different.
It's gonna open up.
I already know I'm going with I like ACC. I know I'm going with the Big 12.
Big 12 is tough. I think
so tough.
So that'll be fun to talk about the Big 12. Yeah. It'll be fun to talk about the SEC.
Win totals.
Let's do win totals and let's get out of here. What do you think? Some bets? You want to give some bets?
Yeah.
You want to go to?
I'll do one nuke. I have them listed. I don't have them listed as nukes. I just have them listed as I like these bets.
I have 2 nukes.
Okay. I had 2 nukes last time. I think you had.
Did you have 2 or did you have 1?
Yeah, we both had 2.
Okay. So I have 1. I like.
All right. Do you want to go first? Or you want me to go first? You want me to go first since you have 2?
You know what? No, I'm gonna hold on.
Am I talking you into a nuke? Is your finger getting ready to press the button?
No,
it's gonna be 1. Dude.
You have the codes?
It's gonna be 1. It's gonna be 1.
Okay. All right.
All right, just 1.
Okay. I'll go first, and then you can go, and then I'll go with the last one, right? Maybe they'll line up. All right, so my first nuke, Wisconsin over 8.5.
Okay. Yeah. I guess we kind of have to agree to that.
So it's juiced to -140. I think it's a 9 a lot of places. If you find it at 8.5, I would do it. I already bet it.
Yeah, below, yes. 9's probably a push.
9's a push, so I like the 8.5.
Now when you say win totals, you're talking just regular
season,
correct?
Yeah, regular season. Yeah, regular.
Okay.
That's all you can bet right now.
Yep.
Yeah.
You want to go back and forth? Yeah, let's go back and forth.
Turn. Yeah.
Okay. So one of the plays I picked is Indiana over 4.
So that's
I just think they struggled. Their biggest problem last year was their offense, and they fixed it in dramatic fashion. And I think Connor Blazak, I can't even say his name now. I will at the end of the season. He's going to be the cornerstone of that offense and actually give them production and keep them in games. So I think they're going to get over 4 wins.
My first nuke was Wisconsin over 8.5. My second one, Minnesota under 7.5.
I love it.
I do love that.
So it's plus 110.
I wish I put that on I wish I did.
It's plus 110. Looking at their schedule, it's a little bit of a contrarian play because I think Minnesota's getting a lot of love. Nuke. But under 7.5. I mean, 7 wins for that Minnesota team would be a good season. So that's, to me, that
goes back to what we already talked about.
That threshold, that 7 to 8 win threshold is hard for some of these teams. So I think that's a key number, and I think under 7.5 is a good bet.
It's hard to row the boat when the paddle's broke, right? So my next play.
I knew you would like that one.
No, I'm going back, but like that front seven is going to be a problem for them, and that's going to cost
more of it during your breakdown.
Yep. So, my next one is my nuke, and I'm doing it second in my next one. I'm going to keep the nuke for last. So my next pick for team total is Purdue under 7. And it goes back to I kind of broke down the schedule. I looked at
you could probably get them under 7.5, honestly.
I honestly thought that if there's a down year for the Brome era, it's this one. He has the quarterback, and I think he's still young, so he may be able to keep him for another year. I think this is the year to kind of develop the line and the wide receivers to kind of get better. But not only that, he's going to have to get better defensively, and I don't know how he's going to do that, whether it's through the transfer portal or recruiting or what. But I think this is going to be one of those years. You see a line at 7 when this team won, 10 games last year?
Yeah.
It kind of is a telltale sign that this team's going to struggle.
You can get 7.5 too. It'll be juiced.
Right.
You can get 7.5.
I saw 7. I saw 7.5. I just said I kind of caught it flat at 7. I don't think they win more than 6.
Yeah. Right. Well, go ahead. Give me your nuke.
All right. The nuke bomb play of the decade for Big Ten. Just fire this. Put the mortgage on it. Put your kids on it. Put your wife on it. Is that what I'm supposed to say?
Yeah. Responsibly. It's your show. Do whatever you want.
It has nothing to do with money management. It's Nebraska over 7.5.
Okay.
I know I may be taking a risk on this one. I've never seen on paper a team. This team was always missing a quarterback because Adrian Martinez has been there for 10 years. Okay. He finally got the hint to get the hell out of there and went to Kansas State where they don't pass the ball anyways. And he can just run the ball and play off of what's his dump there from Kansas State.
He's going to go power run.
Yeah. Which is actually a better spot for him. But we'll get to Big 12 later. So with Casey Thompson in there, I just think that is the perfect offense for him. I think it's going to work. It just seems like it's going to work.
All right, so my nukes. Yeah, my nukes. Wisconsin over 8.5. Minnesota under 7.5. Guns' nukes. His nuke is
7.5. Nebraska.
And then what did Boiler say? You like Maryland under 6 or over 6? What
he said? He said take Maryland over 6. I don't hate that.
He liked Minnesota under 7. That's my boy right there.
Yep. And I like that too. I agree with both of those.
Yeah. Cool, dude. All right. So what do we have next week? We have Big 12.
We're gonna do Big 12.
Big 12 or do you want to do ACC? Big 12?
I mean, you're pretty eager on the Big 12, so let's do Big 12.
I'm kind of going by hierarchy.
Well, then you go ACC then.
I'm trying to go conference hierarchy. Big 12.
So ACC. So we did the Big 10.
Big 12 is way better than ACC. So I went SEC, Big 10, Big 12.
Is it?
I mean, OU, Texas, Oklahoma State, Baylor.
How many teams are leaving the ACC?
None.
Okay.
Well, they already left. They all went to the Big 10.
This year. I mean, like since the NIL.
Not yet.
So ACC.
They're about to disband.
ACC is taking in good teams still. They just don't have any need to move because they have NC State and they have.
The ACC is irrelevant.
Why ACC is?
Who's going to make the playoff out of the ACC?
I don't know if I should talk about that now. I have thoughts.
NC State, Clemson,
NC State.
Nobody else. North Carolina.
No.
Virginia Tech.
Pitt's going to be better than UNC.
Florida State.
Why are we doing this? Why do you hate the ACC?
I hate everybody. That's not the team I like.
Well, the Big 12
is works. I mean, that's just the way the cookie crumbles.
Yeah. Well, you guys are going to be G5 in no time. So
you
were the new swag. You're the Fun Belt. You really
all right.
are.
It must be nice to not be in a conference.
Yeah. Well, I mean, take it for what it's worth. You have a conference that the Cowboys are going to dominate because they can't dominate the NFC East.
I don't know, man. We'll talk about the Big 12 maybe next week unless Guns outvotes me with the ACC. But
no, listen. I'm ready.
If you had Cincinnati and BYU in there, it's better than the ACC. We'll run down the list.
I like the ads, but I don't think it's Oklahoma and Texas.
Well, of course not. No one's
going
to
be.
But
you're
the
downgrading.
ACC doesn't have anybody.
Like I said, you're G5, so that's fine.
I don't even know what that means. Is that like a new Gatorade?
No, it means you're non-P5.
Oh, okay.
You're SWAC.
I'm very high. I'm very high P5.
The Bible Belt Mac.
Hey, when you have teams in Texas, you're always going to be involved in the
That's
power.
The show. If you want to watch the rest of our banter, you can go check out our Patreon at Dadbodd. No, I'm just kidding. We should have a Patreon, just us shitting on each other. But that's it for the Dadbods podcast. Thanks for joining. Sorry it was so long. It's part 1, part 2, but that's how we are going to do the bigger conferences, and then we'll have a more refined recording for the rest of the bunch. That it's not going to be live. It'll just
so next week we will be breaking down the Big 12. I'm putting my foot down.
Yes, I agree. I'm going to do Big 12. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
And then the ACC is better though.
All right. Thanks for joining. Good night. God bless, and let's keep cashing all the way through college football season. Peace.